Greetings everybody. Real quick follow-up video. If you recall my little rant video, I was working on the Audi C7 S6 probably 3 weeks ago, maybe longer. I was putting spark plugs and coils. I did a plug-in coil kit from FCP Euro with Bosch coils and Beru plugs, and also an air spring on the passenger rear, which turned into quite the fiasco. Air spring is actually super easy to install, but had issues with ride height adjustment, all that kind of stuff. So anyhow, today we're going to talk about spark plugs, because on a recent road trip vacation, just 18 days after installing these plugs and coils, wound up having to limp into the only Audi service facility that was near us, which happened to be Audi of Appleton. And the spark plugs were already melted / fouled, according to the dealer tech. And so I'm going to show you what those plugs look like. And here you can see it. This is, I have no particular order. I don't know which cylinders these were in, but they were replaced because we actually had Misfire on cylinder 3 that was pretty persistent, and then random multiple on the others. And this car historically, we purchased it from a private individual in Chandler, Arizona, who, interestingly, under his service ownership, it had also been in for a similar issue, and cylinder 3 was noted as well, and they did spark plugs. And then we had that issue once we bought the car. Ironically, on the way back from a vacation, they had to stop at Audi of Appleton. This is probably in 2018. And had plugs installed. And ironically, the dealer used these Beru plugs. It was, basically not the Volkswagen Audi branded plug. It was a Beru plug. This time when we went to the same dealer, they, poo-pooed the plugs and said they're aftermarket, when in fact it was the same brand of plug they had used last time. So I thought that was kind of comical. And I haven't pulled out what plug they installed this time to see if it's actually a Volkswagen or Audi branded plug. But anyhow, what they actually said was the culprit and the cause of this was the little solenoid connector. And these little annoyances, if you ever change your plugs, you'll know these little gray tabs have to be pulled back and then squeezed to disconnect these. And when I did mine, now keep in mind the last place that did spark plugs was in fact Audi Appleton. I would say of the 8, a good 5 of them were damaged, or this one's kind of chewed up. They were in rough shape, so I had a bit of a hard time. I had to put a pick in there underneath and just gently work them back and then squeeze them, and it was kind of a mess. So I don't know if it was Audi of Chandler, Arizona that did this in, under the prior owner, or if Audi Appleton had the hack mechanic last time. I'm not sure, so I'm not gonna necessarily point fingers at either of them, because I simply don't know. All I know is they were not pleasant to deal with when I was doing it. And I had, normally these have little ears on them. I had, the only damage I did was I had one ear break off when the pick slipped, and it just took a little ear off the corner of one. Other than that, I thought I got in and out unscathed. But anyhow, they found apparently this connector was broken and had, said it had an intermittent code for it, which I never saw in VCDS, so I was kind of curious about that. But they replaced that plug for $48. Spark plugs for another 530 something. And I mean, all things considered, if you go to an Audi dealer, it was like $676 for everything. I guess that's quote unquote cheap, but yeah, anyhow, it made for an interesting vacation. Spent the vacation in a 2-liter Audi Q5 instead of the S6. So anyhow, we're going to look closer at the plugs so you can kind of tell me what you see or what you think. Kind of hard to see some of these. I don't think they look all all that terrible compared to how they looked when they were installed. And this is, again, 18 days of use. And they were replaced. So I don't know, I'm going to contact FCP Euro and see what I do about the situation, since it was a coil and plug kit and the plugs, you know, quote unquote failed to work for us. I had a persistent misfire. So I need to warranty exchange these for a new set, because I'm sure this problem will be back and I'll be changing plugs in this thing once again. So with that said, I am curious from the other Audi C7 S6 owners out there, RS7 owners, etc. If you've had this issue, what was it? The only thing I can say is I was actually driving when this occurred, and it was while on cruise control, about 70 miles an hour, 1900 RPM. And it seems like as it would maybe go up a hill and thus go under load and switch back over into the 8-cylinder mode, that's when it seemed like it would have a misfire. And so the first time it occurred, I pulled over, I shut the car off, restarted, and of course it was, reset, and we continued driving, no problem. The next time we made a pit stop, the problem came back and would not go away. I could not shut off, I could not, make it go away on a restart. So that's when I got out VCDS and plugged it in, had the random multiple, had the cylinder 3, and I did have the I think it was the solenoid, I can actually put it in the notes, but like a solenoid adjuster random error, which is, I guess that would be the plug thing. But oddly, I think that was on cylinder 5, and my common issue is on cylinder 3. So I do believe that cylinder 3 is one of the cylinders that gets, like deactivated for the 4-cylinder mode or something like that. So they are more prone to misfire when it's, firing those cylinders back up. So anyhow, I'm just curious if anyone out there has had this experience and has actually resolved it, because this one seems to keep coming back. And if it is in fact as simple as that little plug, that'll be great. But my suspicion is it's going to come back in another couple weeks here, sort of like before. So we'll see. Anyhow, thanks for watching this short one. We'll catch you next time.